A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Committed Muslims, brothers, sisters, and children in Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are going to look at the contents of the 16th Juzʼ or the 16th para, and that consists of Surah al-Kahf, Surah Maryam, and a portion of Surah Ṭā Hā. Now, we are already, Surah al-Kahf is of course mentioned in or consists of the 15th Juzʼ. Part of it is in the 15th Juzʼ, but I deliberately left it so that we could begin in this Juzʼ and explain its significance. Now, Kahf means cave, and actually the word cave is derived from the word Kahf, the Arabic word. And this surah takes its name from the story of the sleepers of the cave. Now, these were a group of Christians that were being persecuted in their own community. Of course, the Qur'an does not tell us exactly where this community resided, but various historical accounts say that this may have been somewhere in Syria or whatever. But anyway, regardless of that, the story basically is this, that these people that were Christians, and of course Christianity was present at that time, this was way before Islam, that the surah takes its name from these people that had gone to sleep, and they slept for several hundred years. Now, the way this whole thing came about was that the Meccan mushriks thought that, of course, they didn't believe in the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so they thought that if they go to the Jewish rabbis in Medina, who are people of the book and with whom the Meccan mushriks had very good relations, that if they asked them to pose certain questions to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that maybe he will not be able to answer those questions. So the three questions that the rabbis told the Meccan mushriks to pose to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam were: number one, what is the story of the people of the cave? And number two, what is the story of the green man? And number three, what is the story of Zulqarnain? Of course, the Meccan mushriks came to Makkah and they said to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have three questions for you, and if you answer them, then we are going to accept your message. And these were the three questions. So the story of the cave, of the people of the cave, is of course that these people that were put to sleep by Allah for about 309 years or so, and when they woke up, they woke up from 309 years of sleep, and of course when they went into town, once they're woken up, they thought that they had only slept for about maybe a day or so, and they were hungry now, and they went into town to get some food, and they had their old coins with them. So when they went to buy the food and gave that coin to one of the shopkeepers, he was surprised to see these old coins because 300 years had passed. And of course then all the people came and they saw these people, and of course these people, the sleepers of the cave, went back to the cave and they went to sleep, and of course they died because human beings don't live that long. Now the second question, the story of the green man, was that Musa alayhi salam had asked Allah whether there is anybody who has been given greater knowledge than him, and Allah said, yes, there is somebody that I've given more knowledge than you. So Musa alayhi salam requested Allah to let him meet this person, and this person is called Khizr alayhi salam. Khizr, of course, in Arabic means green. And of course Allah also reveals to Musa alayhi salam as to what are the signs where you would meet this person, and that was at the confluence of two rivers. And so Musa alayhi salam tells his servant who is accompanying him that when we arrive at the confluence of the two rivers, you should remind me. But his servant, of course, forgets. And although they are traveling, and the servant is carrying the fish as food for them, by some miracle the fish basically jumps out of the basket and goes into the river. And of course they continue traveling. The servant doesn't realize that he has to tell Musa alayhi salam that we have reached that point. Anyway, much further away, Musa alayhi salam asked the servant to bring me food. I'm hungry now, we have been traveling a lot. And then the servant realizes that he has lost the fish. So he tells Musa alayhi salam that I lost the fish at the point of the confluence of the two rivers, and the fish just jumped into the sea. So they retrace their steps back and they come, and that's where Musa alayhi salam meets Khizr alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam says to him that I want to accompany you. Khizr alayhi salam told him, no, you can't, because you will not be able to understand what I'm doing and you will keep on asking questions. But Musa alayhi salam promises that I'm not going to ask any questions. So he said, okay, on this condition that you will not ask any questions of whatever I do, whether you like it or you don't. So anyway, they start traveling. They come to a river, they get into a boat, and Khizr alayhi salam starts to break the boat and start to make holes in its side. And Musa alayhi salam is alarmed. He says, what are you doing? Why are you making holes? We are all going to drown. So Khizr alayhi salam told him, he said, didn't I tell you that you're not going to ask questions, because this is not something that you will understand? So he said, okay, I apologize. I'm not going to ask any more questions. So they get to the other side. They keep going. And they come across a young boy. And Khizr alayhi salam kills the boy. And Musa alayhi salam is horrified. He said, what did you do? Why did you kill this boy? I mean, he had done nothing to you. He had committed no harm, nothing. And he's just an innocent person. So Khizr alayhi salam said, look, didn't I tell you not to ask questions? You don't know these things, and I'm not going to take you with me anymore. So he said, okay, please, I apologize. I'm not going to ask any more questions. So they keep going, and now they've traveled a long time and they're very, very tired and hungry. They go into a town and they ask the people for some food. The people, of course, refuse to give them food. They say, get lost. They're bad people. So they come out of the town, and there they see there is a wall that is crumbling. And Khizr alayhi salam begins to fix it, and he straightens it up. So Musa alayhi salam said, this is strange. I mean, these people are such terrible people. This wall is crumbling and you fixed it up for free. They're such bad people, they wouldn't even give us food or water. So Khizr alayhi salam said, look, didn't I tell you not to ask me questions? And that's it. We are now going to part company. But since you had asked these questions, I'm going to give you the answers to each and every one of them. And he said, in the first case, in the case of the boat, it belonged to a poor man, but there was a cruel person on the other side who would take everything good that people had. So I damaged the boat so that the other person, when he sees that it's a damaged boat, it would not be of any use to him, so he wouldn't take it away from this poor man who earns a livelihood through this. With respect to the boy, I killed him because Allah revealed to me that when he grows up, he's going to be very cruel to his parents. So Allah told me to take his life before that situation arises. And the third, with respect to the wall, there was a treasure hidden by a father for his orphans in this wall. And if the wall had crumbled, obviously these people of the town would have taken that money and not given it to the orphans, because they are young and they don't have the capacity to protect themselves. And you saw that these people of the town are bad people, and therefore I fixed up that wall. So at this point, Musa alayhi salam, Khizr alayhi salam told Musa alayhi salam that we have to part company. Now the third question was with respect to the story of Dhul Qarnain. Dhul Qarnain means the two-horned one, and he went and met the people of Yajuj and Majuj. Of course, there are different theories about Yajuj and Majuj. We are not going to get into this, but basically, Zulkarnain was able to build a wall of steel and timber, etc., so that he could keep these cruel people away. But Zulkarnain, despite having these powers, was a humble man. He believed in Allah. And his story is narrated so that it would tell the Meccan mushriks that even though Zulkarnain was very powerful, that he did not become arrogant. So although the three questions that the Meccan mushriks had posed to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam were answered satisfactorily, but of course they still did not believe in the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and rejected his message. So the Quran repeatedly points out to people that reject Allah's message that their hearts are sealed. It is not that what Allah is telling them has any flaws, na'uzubillah, and therefore their conduct and their behavior is unacceptable. In this Juzʼ, in the 16th Juzʼ, we also uh, there is also the story, the Surah Maryam, which, of course, as the name suggests, relates to Maryam alayhi salam, who is the mother of Isa alayhi salam, and who, as we had seen in Surah Al Imran, that her mother had pledged that she would um, commit her next child, to Allah's care and Allah's worship. And of course, Maryam alayhi salam was born, and now Maryam alayhi salam spends her time in worship all the time in the chambers. And Zakaria alayhi salam has been appointed her guardian. But whenever Zakaria alayhi salam comes to see her, he finds that she always has food and provisions. And he asks her, he said, where do you get this food from? You don't go out of this place. And she says, Allah provides this to me. So, of course, Zakaria alayhi salam, who's an old man, he prays to Allah to give him an offspring in this old age. And Allah, of course, fulfills his dua and gives him an offspring who is Yahya alayhi salam. And incidentally, both Zakaria alayhi salam as well as Yahya alayhi salam were killed by the rulers of the time and the people of the time in which they lived. This is one of those tragic episodes in prophetic history. Now, while Maryam alayhi salam is in the chamber, one day an angel comes to him in the form of a man. And the angel says to her that you are going to have a child. And of course, she is horrified. How can she have a child? When she said, I seek protection in Allah. No man has touched me. How can I have a child? So the angel tells her that whatever Allah wills, it is done. And so, of course, Maryam alayhi salam becomes pregnant with Isa alayhi salam, and then when he is born and she comes back into town, the people point accusing fingers at her, and they say, "What have you done? You have committed adultery." And she points to the baby in the cradle, and they say, "Well, how can this baby speak? What can we do?" So the baby Isa alayhi salam begins to speak, and he says, "I am, Isa alayhi salam, Isa ibn Maryam. I'm the son of Maryam alayhi salam, and Allah has chosen me to deliver this message to you." And of course, there are many miracles of Isa alayhi salam that are described in this surah, Surah Maryam, as well as stories of Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam, and Idris alayhi salam. And all of these are prophets who were sent to various communities to deliver the message of Allah, to bring people to the righteous path. Now, there is also Surah Ṭā Hā in this Juzʼ, and Ṭā Hā, of course, is one of the titles of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the surah starts off with Musa alayhi salam seeing a fire in the distance, and he's traveling with his family. So he says, "Let me go and fetch some fire so that we can cook some food." And when he goes there, he hears Allah commanding him that, Musa, I've chosen you to be my prophet, and I've given you great powers and commands, and I command you to go to Fir'aun and invite him to the right path. And of course, Musa alayhi salam is scared because he had been raised in the house of Fir'aun, and we will come across this in Surah Al-Qasas when we get to that surah, that Fir'aun was killing all the children of the Bani Israel, but somehow, and of course, Musa alayhi salam ended up being raised in the house of Fir'aun. And then, of course, Musa alayhi salam by mistake kills a man. When he grows up, he kills a man by mistake, and he flees from there because they're going to come and kill him. And so when Allah commands him to go to Fir'aun, Musa alayhi salam is worried and scared. He says, "Well, I had committed a murder. Of course, it was not intentional, but they are going to punish me." And Allah says, "No, you go." And he was given various miracles. For instance, he was told to put his hand in his gown and pull it out, and it was glowing absolutely white. And he told him to throw his staff, and that would turn into a serpent, etc. So he goes to Fir'aun, and there is a dramatic encounter in the court of Fir'aun. And of course, all of the tricks of the magicians are defeated, but unfortunately, the Fir'aun and his people do not accept the message that Musa alayhi salam has brought to them. And so the people of Fir'aun are destroyed, and Musa alayhi salam and his followers are saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are a lot of more details, but because of shortage of time, we are not going to go into it. But we invite and encourage all of you to please study the Quran and understand it so that we can derive the appropriate lessons. Thank you for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.